Welcome. I am absolutely thrilled to have you here today because, wow, we are looking at something truly mind-bending. Right at this very second, without you even having to think about it, there are these awe-inspiring hidden mechanics working around the clock, literally just to keep you alive. We're going to explore a world that exists right inside your chest, a world of chemical sensors, microscopic battlegrounds, and unsung biological heroes. Okay, let's dive into this. On average, you're sitting there taking about 16 breaths every single minute. It feels completely effortless, right? Like you're just drawing air from a boundless ocean. But beneath that calm, rhythmic rise and fall of your chest, there's a constant, highly coordinated, microscopic war happening. Every single time you inhale, you aren't just bringing in life-giving oxygen, you're bringing in a barrage of invisible threats. Today, we're going to break down exactly how your body handles this incredible burden. Section 1. The body's autopilot system. Your lungs are absolutely remarkable, but they don't just operate on their own. They actually take their marching orders from an unsung guardian in your brain that works 24/7 without us ever needing to intervene. Meet the medulla oblongata. Tucked right where the spinal cord enters the back of the neck and meets the brain, this specific little area acts as a master chemical sensor. It's highly, highly sensitive and is constantly, literally second by second, monitoring the chemical makeup of your blood. It doesn't need you to be awake, and it doesn't need you to pay attention. It just watches, waits, and calculates. And this brilliantly illustrates how rapid this cause and effect chain really is. So, say you start exercising, or maybe you start to panic. In step 1, the carbon dioxide levels in your blood begin to rise. Because of this, in step 2, your blood actually becomes slightly acidic. The highly sensitive medulla oblongata detects this tiny spike in acidity instantly. Then, step 3 kicks in. Your internal autopilot fires a direct command to your lungs to speed up. The breathing rate increases entirely on its own, clearing out the danger and bringing everything right back to normal. It's a beautifully rapid, life-saving chain reaction that keeps us from suffocating. Section 2. The math of breathing. Now that we know how the autopilot works, we really need to grasp the sheer scale of what our lungs actually do. It's so easy to take breathing for granted, but the physical workload our body quietly handles is a massive mathematical burden. If you're just resting comfortably in bed, your body requires about 8 liters of air every single minute. Sitting in a chair doing some office work, that jumps to 16 liters. A casual walk pushes it to 24 liters. But if you start running, oh man, your air intake skyrockets to a massive 50 liters per minute. To put that into perspective, your lungs are constantly shifting gears to meet this immense, silent workload, ensuring that fresh oxygen reaches every single organ without interruption. But here's a fascinating twist. When you inhale, taking in about half a liter of air per average breath, not all of it actually makes it to the destination. A full 1/3 of the air you breathe in never reaches the deep, processing parts of the lungs. It stays trapped in your windpipe and the smaller air passages. Only 2/3 of that air gets fully utilized. And to prepare that air, your body does something incredible. Half a liter. That is the amount of secretions, fluids and moisture, that the glands in your nose, eyes, and throat produce every single day. Why? Because your lungs demand air that is perfectly clean, at a specific temperature, and highly humidified. All of these glands work together constantly to adjust the humidity of the air you breathe, acting as this massive biological conditioning system. Section 3. Frontline defense mechanisms. Conditioning the air is really just the beginning, because every breath brings in countless bacteria, viruses, and germs. This is where the story kind of turns into a suspense thriller, as your body employs microscopic soldiers to defend your highly vulnerable lungs. The first line of defense relies on lysozymes. These are present in the secretions of your eyes, nose, and throat, and they outright destroy a majority of incoming bacteria before they can even go deep into your system. But what about the clever, deadly germs that slip past these checkpoints into the warm, dark, moist environment of your deeper lungs? Well, that's where the phagocytes come in. Think of these white blood cells as special ops assassins. They hunt in complete darkness, immediately recognizing enemy invaders and literally devouring them right on the spot. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the real heavy lifters, the mechanical cleanup crew called the cilia. Imagine millions upon millions of microscopic hairs. They're constantly waving back and forth, resembling a vast wheat field swaying in a strong wind. They are coated in this sticky fluid that traps the invisible particles of dust, smoke, and dirt that you inevitably inhale. This cleanup operation runs on a relentless, incredibly precise timeline. At minute 0, your body lays down a fresh layer of this sticky fluid. Over the next 20 minutes, that layer acts just like flypaper, getting polluted by all the incoming dust and smoke from the air. By minute 21, the cilia sweep this entire layer of dirty fluid backward and drop it down your throat into your stomach. There, the highly acidic stomach fluids act as the final incinerator, destroying the garbage in minutes. This cycle repeats your entire life, and you don't even notice it. Section 4. The impact of toxic air. But this perfect biological system definitely has a breaking point. We have to pivot now from the awe-inspiring perfection of our biology to the catastrophic breakdown that happens when we expose it to modern industrial pollution and smoking. The reality of what we inhale from car exhaust and industrial gases is incredibly harsh. The source material highlights this shocking comparison. Compounds like sulfur dioxide, lead, and nitrogen dioxide mix with moisture in our respiratory system to form acids. Acids so corrosive that if you poured some of these compounds directly onto a nylon sock, they would literally melt right through it. Yet our delicate lung tissues are forced to endure and process these toxic elements every single day. Let's move to and see how this builds. When we look under a microscope, we can see exactly what this toxicity does to our mechanical defenses. Healthy cilia are constantly moving, effectively sweeping away that deadly debris. But when overwhelmed by heavily polluted air or cigarette smoke, those microscopic hairs just stop moving. They become temporarily paralyzed. If the assault continues, the cilia actually begin to die off. By the time a heavy smoker reaches the age of 40 or 45, the vast majority of this vital cleaning system is completely destroyed. And the terrifying truth? They never, ever grow back. Section 5. Your body's backup plan. So what happens when your primary sweeping cilia are gone? Well, the body has to resort to drastic measures. Without the cilia to sweep away the grime, the delicate inner membranes of your respiratory system thicken drastically. In a desperate attempt to trap the unending pollution, they start producing 3 times as much fluid. 3 times! Your lungs basically transform from a perfectly balanced air processor into a dangerous, flooded hazard zone. The physical consequence of this is dire. If that excess toxic fluid is not continuously removed from the air passages, the airways will block up. The reality is grim. Failing to clear this fluid is essentially the equivalent of slowly drowning in your own lungs. So, the crucial point is how the body deals with this when the primary tools are gone. When we hear a heavy smoker's cough, we often just kind of think of it as a symptom of being sick. But it's much more profound than that. Because the microscopic hairs are dead and gone, coughing becomes the body's frantic, ultimate backup plan. It is a violent, desperate survival mechanism designed to forcefully expel that deadly fluid and pull you back from the brink, day after day. Our lungs endure so much for us, asking for absolutely nothing in return, except for the air we give them. It really makes you pause and think about the sheer fragility of your next breath. Knowing the incredible, invisible war fought on your behalf every single minute, will you protect your body's unsung guardians before a desperate cough is the only defense you have left?